Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we embrace open dialogue from different perspectives about entrepreneurship, relationships, and education.
And this open dialogue is needed, especially today, as we live in a Twitter finger society where everyone seems to care more about getting their point across than they are about hearing the other person's perspective.
If you're ready to grow your business, your relationships, and your personal development, stick with us here at the Perspective Podcast, because sometimes in life, to get to the next level, you just need a different perspective.
If I look like what I've been through, I'd be roadkill. Tell me off of the pavement, I'm reeking from the...
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Mouzon. Got my guy T here with me. Say what's up, T.
What's going on, family?
Hey, guys. We're back another week. Excited to be with you. Again, thanks for all you guys listening and tuning in to the podcast. Watching us now on YouTube. Some of you guys are getting to see our faces now a bit more. So we appreciate all the love and support. As always, right, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit those thumbs up, because we want more and more people to hear this message. But we got a good one for you today, talking a little current events, a little bit something that we've seen. I happened to see it on Twitter, and then T brought it up to me like, hey, did you happen to see that article or that letter, that open letter that Diddy penned to General Motors, to GM? And I said, I just saw the headline, but I didn't really dive into it. And we figured that this was going to be a good way for us to dive into it together with all of you guys, to hear us kind of talk about our perspectives on this, because this is not a new issue, but definitely something that needs to continue to be brought to light. And just to kind of give you context, T, I'll throw it over to you so that you can kind of give context for this letter that Diddy wrote. But it really has a lot of different ways that we can take the conversation. But just give the people some context on what you saw and what you read with Diddy.
Yeah, man. This was good. I think it causes for conversation. So essentially, Diddy wrote a letter, an open letter to General Motors, essentially saying that they say that they're a diverse company. And yes, they are in like their employees. You can see it. I know a good friend that works there, and she's moved her way up. So, but they say, you say you're a diverse company. You say that you care about, Black Lives Matter, et cetera, if you will, or the back movement. Like, some people are sensitive to Black Lives Matter, the slogan, right, or the group. But but the theme behind it, right? However, there's reports that General Motors only spends, of their $3 billion of advertising they did last year, that on average, $3 billion, they spend less than 5%, or roughly 5%, into Black media-owned companies. And so the conversation pretty much goes in what Diddy does, and we'll have the link in there. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but the conversation goes into this thought, and is, if we're supporting your company as Black people buy Cadillacs, they buy Escalades, they buy Tahoes and Suburbans and everything else, right? All these Chevys, right? I sold a lot of Chevys to Black people, right? When I was in the car business, I can tell you a lot of Chevys, GMs, GMCs, and Terrains, and the whole nine, right? But if the Black consumer is spending billions of dollars every year towards your company, but your company doesn't reciprocate back into the Black community, that businesses that could also serve your company, who's serving the end user, a Black community. Not saying only Black people buy them. However, when you say a Cadillac, Black people usually the ones drive the Cadillacs, right? Yeah. Just for an example. So there's this thought, and Diddy's like, hey, we're ready. We as the Black community are ready to weaponize our dollar and stop supporting companies, GM, that do not also invest back in the community, and not talking about through scholarship funds and charity type of investing. But there's a lot of vendors, there's a lot of things that GM needs, supplies, et cetera, where they can divert some of that money back. And Diddy specifically here is talking about Black media, right, back into Black media, to advertise, to be there, to allow those media groups to grow. And so that's the essence of this letter. Now, this letter also has the backdrop of Byron Johnson's letter to General Motors.
Byron Allen.
Byron Allen, excuse me. I keep saying that. I don't know why. Who's Byron Johnson? I keep saying Byron Johnson. I don't know why I keep saying that. Byron Allen. Excuse me. Byron Allen. This is why she's going to be some Byron Johnson. Like, that's me. I wrote the letter. Byron Allen, who went like me straight at the CEO of General Motors. I mean, almost to the point of calling her racist. Right? Like, just went directly in talking about this lack of media spin. Now, again, Byron Allen and Diddy are mega players in the media world, right? So there's an incentive, right, obviously, for them to get more, advertising dollars for their own. So we got to keep that. We got to keep that to perspective, but we can go around the industry world table, if you will. And a lot of people can come in and say, hey, well, we supply. And that's really this conversation. So the question I posed that actually got this topic up to Chris is it the responsibility of a business if they notice, and they should notice, and they should know, a large population or a huge percent of their revenue comes from a particular demographic group of people? Is it their responsibility to then reinvest back into that community, if you will, or is there an obligation or a sense of obligation to go ahead and when it's time for them to spend money, the business to spend money in that community specifically because that community is spending money and putting revenue into the revenue dollars into the company? Should it be reciprocal? And so that was the question that I posed. Now I have some thoughts around it, but since I asked the question, I'm gonna pass it back over to Chris, who's smiling and tapping his foot probably to answer this question.
Because I can go so many ways, right? Like we kind of touched on this a little bit off camera right before we had started this. Like, I can go so many ways with this because I stand in so many different seats and I have so many different perspectives as a Black man, as a consumer, right? As a capitalist, as a business owner, right? Like, I stand in so many places so I can understand. And that's, having empathy for everyone in that situation. It's just so many different ways I can go. I'll kind of tackle the first two that pop in my mind. When you say that word obligation or responsibility, right? I don't think that anyone can tell a business where to spend their money, whether it be marketing dollars, whether it be in the community. Like, that company is going to do what's best for that company. We would hope, and this is where that capitalist people hate capitalism, because they're like, every business is out for themselves, and it should be that, what's that triple P bottom line, right? People profit, the environment or whatever, right? Like, these are the things that should run capitalism, should run good business. And I agree, right? Like, there always should be something that is more of the philanthropic, the give back, the put money back into reinvesting. I believe in those things. But again, like I said, I don't believe that anybody can tell a company where to spend their dollars. That right up front from Byron Allen and from Diddy, like, we don't tell Revolt where to spend their dollars. We don't tell, right, any of these companies where they should. Now, that is how I think of on the capitalist side. Like,
if it was in a vacuum,
right? If you're in a vacuum,
right? Pure capitalism, you're going to spend your money how you want to spend your money, right? Exactly. Just like you're going to make your money how you want to make your money, right? Whether I'm selling cheeseburgers that can kill you by 40, or whether I'm selling, protein shakes that can make you live to 100. Like, it allows me to do however I want to do it, right?
Exactly. That has a lot to, and you said it, right? Like, some people get on McDonald's because they sell things that absolutely will kill you. They sell sugar, like they sell things that aren't going to be healthy. But like, who are we to, if you're going to keep consuming it, like, who are we to tell them what they can and can't sell? Like, just don't go there, type of thing. So from that standpoint, right, I don't think anybody can really tell a business what they should do. Now, from a business owner standpoint.
Yeah. Is it, well, let me ask a question. You may be going there, but let me just make sure I throw it out there to give context. Yeah. Is it a good business decision?
That's where I'm going.
Okay. All right. So I make sure I put that out there for everybody.
Because as a business owner, it's only right and it's only smart and logical in my mind that you put more dollars into the things that generate you the most revenue. That's logical to me as a business owner. As it being in the financial services space, if I have a bunch of very good clients, I will add more dollars to take care of them even more. I will give them more gifts. I will market to them more. I will do more for them because they generate more revenue for me. That logical, common sense.
So now you said like, you'll market more to them, etc. Now, right, which is fine, right? But would you feel an obligation to go through, let's say you have a community of just Black people, right? I'm just using that for an example to keep it clean. Yeah. And you're like, hey, this is a good market, right? Like this market is taking me and my family, however we're taking care of them, but they helping us. Would you feel obligated when you are marketing to them to go through channels that also support that group? Or would you just go through like, hey, I'm just marketing more to them?
It would. So from a marketing standpoint, I don't know that it would,
because this is what Diddy's talking about.
Right.
Diddy's saying market to us. That's fine, but go through us to get to us.
But that's that's subjective because, if we're going to talk Diddy and we just want to pull this as like,
this is the isolated thing we're talking about. Yeah.
How much of Black America is watching Revolt? Right?
Well, what Diddy's argument is more people would if we were. That's the conversation.
But that's bad business, right? Like we're not gonna like that. I'm not gonna say, hey, I can't reach all the people that I want to reach in my demographic because you, Mr. Company, aren't paying us. So if you pay us, then I can reach my demographic. It's the other way around. Revolt, all these, if there are, Black-owned media companies, if they're not specifically trying to garner more Black attention and right, like,
well, they are they are. I mean, because we're a large consumer base.
But as a business, right? But again, we might be a large consumer base, but we might be getting our information from mainstream media, from non-Black owned media, right? That might be what is influencing us more than Black owned media, than Black podcasts or Revolt or any of these things. That might not be a smart business decision for them, right? We're kind of teetering on a couple different things. Is it smart for them to say like, 14% of the population, Blacks buy a lot of our products, great. So we now should support the channels that other Black people own. But from a business perspective, like, is that the smartest place for my marketing dollars if I go back the other side of it?
Well, it goes, but again, there, like you said, there's a point, right? Like, is it the smartest business decision to go give $1 million to a village in Africa? I'm just using that for an example, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like here, I think at some point, right? Like if it's all X's and O's and ones and zeros, then the way things are set up right now we can go into why they're set up right now. We can go into how things were positioned and fought and laws were put in place to keep things a certain way. That's not the conversation today, right? For the most part. It's laced in there though. Then the conversation becomes, is this a type of investment, right? Like, okay, I want to reach the Black community. Let's use that for an example. And the Black community, let's say I can get broader by going through the major TV networks, right? Which are not owned by any Black people, right? Like we all know that, right? Byron Allen and Cosby at one point were trying. They were close, but they didn't make it, right? And we can go into why in another episode. But then you can say, okay, well, while that is it, right? I can get to them there. However, there are these other niche, right? These other pockets, right? I wouldn't even call it a niche, but let's just call it pockets where I can get right there. Like it's explicitly there, while at the same time being able to show good faith, right? That, hey, this community, and no, not only did we advertised to you and spent money on you. We take care of you, right, through our products, but we also went directly to the means, right? And this goes into just more than media. This is media. This is like the vendors, where they buy their supplies from, where they get their parts from, who services things. Like, come on, I mean, you know what I mean? There's so many ways about this. And I just think that if I look up and I realize that 50%, I'm just using 50% of my products are coming from this community, I am going to be like, I'm getting my community pass, right? like, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm going to get my community pass, right? Like, I am going to invest in, because it's like, if it grows, if it pops, like, they're a consumer already. Okay, they're already buying the products. I know I can get to them. Then this is like where I think I need to be. And I think that other cultures, right now, we starting to switch it up. They do that, right? Like, other cultures say, hey, I'm noticing this, let me go do this. But it seems like when it comes down to Black people, right? Like, it's like, we don't seem to get that same type of reciprocation when we are in a large way of some of the biggest spenders, right? We were just watching a video, right? And, you know, we'll post this about in 1954, advertising to the Negro. Right? Like, we just, you know, and we'll have this video there. We'll probably start the podcast off with it or something.
Yeah,
like
we'll
something
clip it
fun.
up for sure.
Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware. But she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
The Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
He wants to buy brand. He or she wants to buy brand. They want to buy good quality because they care about the opinions of others. And they want to, and if you try to talk them into something cheaper, you're gonna turn the Negro off. Like, this is right word for word from the deal. And today, guess what? Black people will buy brand. That's why Jordan is so big, right? That's why Nike is so big.
My mom and grandmom still, to this day, buy brand of things that are generic, right?
Yes.
Like Bounty paper towels. Like, I've tried to bring in just a regular, like, you know, a normal, just generic.
Just a Walmart paper towel, whatever. Towel. Yeah.
And they were like, like, we need Bounty. And I was like, why? Have you ever tried? We like Bounty.
Yes.
We like Lysol. I'm like, well, there's other things. we like license. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'll do whatever you want. It all comes from the same factory, Mom.
It's all the same.
Right?
Yeah, people don't know. The same
Yeah.
factory makes it, they just slap the different labels on it.
That's it. And they always want to debate me. Shout out to my mom and grandma. They always want to debate me on like, oh, well, I got the generic Benefiber instead of the name brand Benefiber. And they're like, oh, it doesn't work the same. No, it absolutely does. Turn it around. These are the same ingredients. It's just in your mind. But that's that brand thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's the brand thing. So because, and we can say today, you know, Americans generally like their brands. Like we can say that. And being Black, we can say we really like our brands, right? Like I go to the store, and there's been times where I looked at something and I looked at the label and I was like, I just have flashbacks of getting roasted in school. You come up in there with the wrong thing on or something, and people can't recognize that brand. I remember that, right? Like I still have trauma to this day. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know what that's gonna say. I'm a grown man with kids, right? With a teenager, and I'm having flashbacks, you know, still to that, you know, to that, right? Now I still buy it because I'm like, I like this. It's what I want to wear, right? Like, but I still think about that. But knowing that so I guess the question becomes, is this really on us as the consumer, or is this really on the company?
To do what? For what outcome?
To change, like if we say, hey, we're only doing business with people that want to do business with us. I think that's really the undertone, right? Like we don't mind doing business with you. We just want you to also, when you have a need, want to do business with us. Yeah, and I think that's the key thing.
But but we can't ask that, right? Like again,
no, I think you can ask that. I think you have the right, because look, I'm the consumer, right? I can say, hey, I only want, I don't know, I got my droid here, right? I only want Samsung. Right. But here goes the thing, Samsung. If you want to do business with me, whenever you, like, I'm gonna do business with you, but when you do business, I need you to give me a look, and not just, I need you to sometimes come back into my neighborhood and buy as well. Because if you're not putting it back, if I'm only putting into your community and you ain't pumping nothing back into mine at any point, I don't want to do business with you. That's going to become a criteria. It looks like now we can argue, is that divisive? Is that this? Is that segregation? And capitalistic segregation. But at the end of the day, people do business how they want to do business. And so is this on the consumer? Is Diddy right saying we are going to weaponize our dollar? If we are spending money with you, you need to come spend money with us too.
So this is age old. Like I feel like a lot of people have posed this question to brands and to businesses and things like that. I just don't know that it's possible to weaponize where I come from in this mindset is, as a business owner, as a business, if GM doesn't have to put a lot of money into marketing to Black people and Black people will still go buy the product, whose fault is that?
That's Black people's fault.
All right. So
no, but that's why I asked, is this really the consumer's issue?
So then, yes, that to my point of saying, like, yes, it is the consumer's thing, because let's say Diddy has the pull and Byron Allen have the pull. I've never bought a Cadillac, right? Like I don't care about Cadillac. I don't care about GM. So, but if that group of people that do, right? Do they have the pull to say, let's go to Ford, let's go to Tesla, let's go to whatever the other thing is. Is that possible? Or would GM be like, we still don't have to put any advertising with Black media or put anything back into the community, and Black people will continue to buy this product just because they buy on luxury, they buy on brand, all these things. They buy on what feels like, if they're going to do that already, why are you pressing me to add more? Like, I don't, like, our job is done as a company.
True. No, and I think that's as you're talking, I'm sorry, it almost comes off like, hey, our product is good, so you come to us. but we don't really like your product.
It's almost like that.
Like, I mean, that's what they're saying.
This is what they're saying. And until we can weaponize the dollars like a Jay-Z does to Cristal, like I was just watching on EYL, Jim Jones. Jim Jones said he like single-handedly got True Religion out of there, right? As a brand, because he was like, we used to rock True Religion all the time. I asked them and they sent a letter saying like, we won't pay you a check. We'll just give you free jeans. And he was like, all right, well, you're out of there. And so literally from that point on, like for real, people stop.
I ain't seen True Religion nowhere.
Exactly. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
But do we have that power in every single industry where we would say like, I'm not going to buy that car. I'm not going to eat at that restaurant.
No, I don't think we have that power.
I don't think we
because we're only 14%, right?
Exactly.
Like, so we're only 14, but where we do spend it, that's where it will go, right? Just like, you know, any community, right? Like let's keep it real. When the last time you see, well, okay. And well, you know, I won't say that because, you know, people so sensitive. Let me, that'll be the after dark. Let me the after dark podcast. No, I know. I just, you know, I'm just in my head. Whenever you hear that little voice, it's probably time not to say it. So let me just, I'll say it this way. There are some other communities that Black people religiously go to, right? Yeah. Religiously. Yeah. But I have yet to see a little bit of those people come back into ours.
Asian community, like love Asians, right? Like again, stop Asian hate, all behind it, everything for real, like all seriousness. But I grew up in inner city West Philadelphia. Like at the end of the day, like there's nothing but Chinese corners. Every corner store, every store around my neighborhood was all owned by an Asian person. And I didn't see them gentrifying the neighborhood. I didn't see them fixing up their buildings. I didn't see them sponsoring the local teams. They weren't doing any of that, but we kept going. We kept going to Lucky 7. That was the name of the store around the corner from me, right? We kept going. Like it didn't matter because we needed them to a degree. Right. And so until we would say the same thing, like, no, I don't need to shop there because I can go over here to my uncle's store.
Or did your uncle even have a store? And see, there goes the thing. Is there enough other Black businesses to be able to even get to it? Right. Like, you know what I mean? Because that's the other side of it, too. Because obviously people know born and raised in California. So huge population of, you know, Asians. Right. Well, at the same token, as I think about it, there wasn't a lot of, well, at the time, brick and mortar, right? Because it's, you know, this is back in the 90s, right? Brick and mortar locations that I can say, let me go to this Black person's store. Now, there was a Black person's fish fry store, most definitely went to that. You know, there was a Black person's record company, VIP Records, shout out, no longer there anymore, but iconic VIP Records where Snoop was on the top, right? Like, you know, on the roof. Like we went there, like, you know, the barbecue joint, the restaurant, the soul food restaurant, we most definitely did. But majority of everything else was not that, right? Like it was not that. And for different various reasons, obviously restaurants and different things of that nature, you kind of tend to lean towards the culture, right? Like, but I don't know, man, this is one of those conversations. It's continuing to happen. And like you said, it's not new, but I do think it's starting to get louder. Right. And because you're starting to have a lot more
because we're seeing the discrepancy, right? Like that's really what's happening. Like this past year, you know, Black people, we've always known there was a discrepancy, right? Like we've always known that.
Yeah, we know it.
Yeah, we understand.
I think everybody knows it. We're just talking about it now.
We're just talking about it now. It's become something that you have to unveil, you have to uncover. If you don't see it, it's like you're choosing to be ignorant. That was part of like Diddy's letter, right? Like if you're not with us, right? Like you're really on the other side if you're not paying attention to this. But that also being said, right? Go back to that word, like, is it the business's obligation? It's hard for me to say that it's the business's obligation.
I don't know if it's their obligation today, but I think if you're thinking about an obligation for your future, I think it is worth really paying attention to and figuring out, because
if we could come together and actually weaponize our dollars, if we could actually do that, like that's when it would put pressure on them. I don't know that we're at that place as a community, as a Black community, to be like, hey, if someone calls the shot, I'm behind it. Like, I don't know that we're there yet. Like I said, it's not a big deal for me in cars because I really could care less about cars. But think about it from something else that maybe I like, or maybe I go to, or maybe, look at this banking all through 2020. People are like, I want a bank black, right? Like I want to find a black owned bank.
Yeah.
How many black people actually went and did that? Like there's a small group of them, but most of them are still at Chase and Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
I thought about it, but the closest one that I had to me was up in New York, and I'm in Philly. So it was like do I really want a bank where I can't get to?
Exactly, right? Like then we have these convenience things, and then it's like all these different types of things that come in. So I don't even think we're at a place to weaponize our dollars to call the shot. Again, is it smart? I think it would be smart for GM to take, instead of 10 million or whatever it is, or 5 million out of their 30 billion that they spend,
or 3 billion
and add, 300 million, 500 million, something. That would just be smart, right? It would make sense. But I don't think we can ask them to do that, because is it affecting their bottom line if they change their model? Right. Until that happens, what do you?
Well, that's like you said, that's what's going to happen, man. And I think that's the point of this. Once, and this is in my head, you can let me know if you're on the same. Until it really happens, and I'm talking about for real, not like a day, not Juneteenth, not what I mean. Yeah. And no, shout out to Juneteenth, I get it, but not until we really seriously say, you know what, I'm willing to forego that Nike brand. Yeah. I'm just using that for example. And I'm willing to buy this blah, blah, Shaq. Did Shaq end up finishing that deal with Reebok?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's just say
I didn't hear anything about it.
Let's just say Shaq bought it, right? Because I know he was on the verge of really trying to buy it out, right?
Wasn't it Master P? Master P and Byron Davis were in talks with them.
They were all at one point in time. So let's just say Master P and Baron Davis got the deal done with Reebok, right? And now it's black owned. We all know it's black owned. Are we willing to say, huh?
I know where you're going, and I'm saying exactly. But go ahead.
Are we really about to say, all right, I'm going to cut out some of my Nike spend? Not saying you don't ever buy anything, but if I allocate $1,000 a year towards shoes, and I know some cats spend a lot more money on $1,000 per year, but let's say I spend $1,000 a year on shoes, and 900 or 700 goes to Nike, just for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Am I willing to say I'm going to take that large allocation? Right, even though Phil Knight takes care of the community, I understand that, and reallocate that to Master P and Baron Davis.
Most people are going to say no.
Now, again, so here goes. Now, let's just say they had very stylish shoes, you know what I mean, something stylish.
They would have to compete. Yeah, they would have to compete.
You have, it's not just because it's black owned. It's kind of am I going to go get a low quality steak out of a black owned restaurant when I want to go on my anniversary night with my wife? Am I going to go hey, I'm going to go get the low quality steak? Let's just say we all know it's a low quality steak, right? That's not I'm assuming, right. But I've been there before and it's anniversary night. Am I about to go to Houston's or or Ruth's Chris, or I'm about to go to Bruce Chris, Bruce Chris,
right?
So I think there is. And I get anniversaries are isolated thing. It's a special occasion, blah, blah, blah. But are we about to do that? Are we willing to do that?
It has to be based on product, right? At the end of the day, we're not just going to switch for lower quality. And this is also,
the quality.
Goes back to that paradigm also, for us believing that Black people can create superior quality than something that we know, right? That's also psychologically what happens a lot of times. And we have to just believe right away, no, that Reebok product is better than that Nike product. It's made with better quality stuff, right? We have to believe, when we put ourselves behind something, that it's better than the other. That's that psychological damage, that paradigm that has to switch for a lot of Black people too, because of Master, right? Because we've always believed what they have, someone else's thing is better than ours.
Because it was better quality. I mean, it was. Master did have the better food. Master had the better clothes. Master had the better house. Sure. Master had the better, he always had better than us.
Sure. Very, very, very true. Very true. But we have to get out of that mindset now because now we're at a level playing field on that side of quality and design and
compared to before, it's we're still far. But if you took a look at where it was, like, I mean, we can all agree we're in a better place.
Absolutely, absolutely. But those are the things that I don't know that will switch, right? When we start to go down that path of, if you have choices, where do you go for choice? Like, a lot of the stuff we buy is automatic. It's what we see. It's what we feel like we know. Hence that video of like brand and all of that what's the other word? Recognition.
Recognition.
What it's going to look like when you go buy that thing in front of your friends and family. I think we have to get through that process a bit. But again, back to kind of the way we started this conversation, I don't know that that the onus is on GM. Like, I don't know that we can say, like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do because our people are buying your product and you're not reinvesting. Like,
I think, and my perspective is, I think we can say that because I'm a big believer. And, I'm not the pure capitalist, like, pure. I get it. I understand it. But I think true capitalism says, okay, I think I should be looking like this this right here is becoming an issue. And this community is represents 25% of my revenue, but less than 5% of my going out is into anything that community has and supports. I mean, you can even look at it like this. Look, if this community is already spending money with you, right? And you're only pushing, let's say they're giving you 25% and you're only putting 5% back in. Well, wouldn't it kind of be an investment? And I know somebody's going to tell me this, but why not help them grow more and they can have more to spend with you?
Sure.
Right? I mean, like, you feel what I'm getting at?
No, I understand.
If the Black community has more wealth and they're already buying your stuff and then they're seeing you put money back in, we can grow together.
But I think, and again, and not sticking up for GM, but like,
of course, I got you.
Like, do we not know that they're not doing that in the community? Because right now we're just talking about Black, like, where they spend their media dollars.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what we're talking about.
Well, they had a spokesperson come out, and this is what they said. So the spokesperson came out and they said, General Motors aspire. This is to Byron Allen's.
Byron Allen,
Byron Allen's stuff.
Yeah.
It says General Motors aspires to be the most inclusive company in the world. Okay, and that includes how we allocate media spend. We have increased our planned spending with both diverse owned and diverse dedicated media across our family of brands. Additionally, we continue to develop advanced initiatives like the Chevrolet Real Talk, Real Change platform, and support projects like More Than the Gia Peppers, that we've partnered with the National Association of Black-owned Broadcasters on a content series for Black American listeners, produced and distributed underrepresented businesses. In the same spirit, we will continue to have open dialogue with Mr. Allen.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, as a company, what that sounds like, even though that was very like PR worthy. Right?
Oh yeah, it was their PR person.
Yeah. But like, as a company, they're saying, we're spending money in the Black community. We're doing things because we just don't want to give it to you, Byron Allen and or Diddy. Like, we don't want it to go through you, but we'll do things for the community.
Well, when you look at the numbers, it's kind of like, right? Like, you're spending money, but like, you're not like spending money.
But again, this is that.
You get a snippet. Look what we did.
But this is a lot of companies. I know we're picking on GM right now because that's
the topic.
That's the topic. That's a lot of companies. Like, in proportion to a company's revenue versus what they spend in the Black community, it's always going to be low. It's just,
but that's the thing.
problem.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yes.
But again, that's not
what do
the
we do about
company's
it?
problem. That's the consumer's problem. Like, just, I don't need your company to, like, we'll build up our own. We have the avenues, we have the ability. If we could come together and pool our dollars and continue to support ourselves, then that's perfectly fine. And then, yeah, when they see dollars moving away, when they see the mini series not working, it's not reaching the demographic, all the things that they're trying to, equate for now and account for, when they see that that's not working, then they'll go to where it is working. And if we are already doing what we need to do in order to make sure it's working, then they will add money to it.
No, it's, yeah.
I know, like,
hey, I get it. Like I said, we look at both sides of it. That's one of the reasons why we got this perspective podcast, to be able to look at it from different angles and different perspectives.
And real quick, I don't want to, like, take this down like a personal thing with, like, Diddy, but, like, when you read the comments and you read on Twitter, and, I think I heard, like, Charlamagne say this on, like, the Breakfast Club. He's like, Diddy is notorious for trying to get people to take free, like, do free work on Revolt, because they don't have the money to pay Black creators. So there's a bunch of people on Twitter, very well-known people with blue checks, that are like, hey, Revolt asked me to do a content thing and they didn't want to pay me anything. They said, let's do this for the culture. And they're like, well, that doesn't work, because I'm getting paid over here by all these people, but you're not paying us. So a lot of people are coming back at Diddy like, hey, it starts with us. You're going to go. And that's why a lot of this, I know, and my feeling is that it's really immediate. It's really like, they're trying to get those dollars for Revolt.
Well, that's why I said I started this with, let's understand these guys stand to benefit from more spend. Exactly. So, okay. So you know what, we're gonna have to make this probably a 2-part, right? Because I'm gonna ask a question and we can go another, I don't know how long we've been going now, but we can go another 30 hours on this question. And I want to set this up. Maybe this is like the dun for next week, right? Do you think it's beneficial for Black owned businesses to come off too Black when they're trying to grow their company? And so let me rephrase it. Not too Black. Should it be an emphasis? I think that's really the word I want to put in there. Not too Black, because people take that differently. Is it too much, or is it bad for business to be too Black forward when you're in an open marketplace and you only represent 14% and 15% at most of this entire marketplace of the United States? And we're just talking United States, we're not talking globally. Does that hurt? Because
to the coin, right? Like, a couple perspectives on it. Like, I understand why we have to, because if no one supports us, we don't support us. So it's a big deal of, like, I have to let people know that, like, I want to support our community. I want to support Black-owned businesses. So support me. Let's build it from there. So that's one side that is good. I understand.
Yeah. I benefited. We've all benefited from that. We've benefited. Yes.
Exactly. But the other side is you limit yourself. I'm thinking personally of 2 people that I interact with, that I communicate with, that have businesses. One of them specifically told me they are not doing business with white people. And I'm like, hey, by all means, that's fine, but you're limiting, right? You're limiting yourself, and that's fine. Okay. And then another person who, without giving him too much,
I got you.
He is a brand person, but he knows his target is Black people. And so I had somebody come to me to look for, like, a brand consultant, like someone to help them, but they were white. And I thought of him immediately, but I'm like, but I don't think he's going to take you on as a client because you're not Black. So, like,
he ain't gonna help build your brand.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So immediately I had no other options to help this guy, but, like, that's just their perspective. So I don't know, did that help his brand? Did that hurt his brand? I'm not quite sure. He knows his market, so that's great. But
but knowing the country we live in, January 6th, right? like, I mean, and I know that does not represent all of white America, but there represents look, everybody that voted for Trump isn't a racist. We all can understand that. Everybody that voted for Trump isn't prejudiced, right? Some people voted on different things, beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. However, we all can agree that there's a lot of people that voted for Trump around the narrative that of this prejudice, racist backdrop.
Sure.
Right? Like we know that, like we can all come together and assess, so, you know what, that probably is true, right? Right? At least maybe a little true, right? And I'm being super politically correct here. And as I normally am, right? Try to be, at least.
Try to be.
And then when I go off the rails, everybody's like, oh my God. I was like, that's how I really think. But in an environment that we live in, does it become divisive, right? Like, you know what I mean? Does it like while you're trying to make it work, does it not work, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I always found it interesting, and there's no disrespect, but like I grew up in the church, and, you know, so I noticed churches, right? You notice what you're a part of, right? And there's a lot of times where I notice a church and none of the writing is English. It's all like, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go in that church. Like, there's no way I would ever visit that church now, right? Now, that's not to say when I see English writing, I go in. However, if I can't even, I can see the church, I see the cross, I see the chapel, I see Mary outside, whatever it might be, right? It's pretty much like, hey, like, it's almost like, this ain't for you.
Not for them. This is not for me, yeah.
And so are we, in a way, and I'm not saying that church is like that, but it just,
the answer is yes, T. Like,
is that what we're doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this ain't really for you.
we are to a degree. We are to a degree. Like that, any other culture, white people, and anyone, wouldn't necessarily feel the most comfortable at something that is just Black owned, everything Black. I want to deal with Black people and only take money from Black people and Black. Like, it's one thing to have a cause and a mission and understanding that we're supporting our, you know, our community, and then that's what any culture can get behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do. There is a way to take it too far. There is a way to alienate. Right? Money is green. Money is green.
Yeah, for real.
Right? If you got,
I had everybody give me money. So.
Exactly, right? Like what you choose to deploy that money on is up to you. But my belief as a business owner, as a capitalist, right? Like, my belief is always, I'm going to take money as it comes, because money is green. It has no color. I see money as an exchange of value. And so if I can add value to you and you're white or Asian or Black or Indian, I don't care. I'm adding value to you. Hence why we can exchange those dollars, and then I will deploy those dollars in the areas I want to. If that means I'm just supporting my community, then so be it. That's where I choose to put my dollars. But how it comes in, it's open to anyone. So I never got behind. And again, I understand it. My perspective, like, you know, I have a different perspective on it, but I understand why someone would go, Black owned, I want to just deal with Black, that side of it, but I just think it limits. And yes, I think we are, you know, being more divisive than we are coming together, even though I understand what you're trying to do. Like, I understand like the attempt. I just don't think that's what will play out. I would like to make more money. I want more coming in from more people. I want to be able to serve more people, reach more people. And then, like I said, if I just only want to reinvest back in the Black community, then I will do that. That just
and that's what a lot of cultures do. You know, some of these cultures, hey, come on in, and then it's like, all right, you know, Black barber, Black masseuse, Black grocery store, like this, and look, I'm okay. Like, again, to your point, I can spend my money however I want to spend it, and if somebody doesn't like how I spend my money, as a, you know, if I'm a business and you're putting money in, you don't like how I'm spending it, then that's your responsibility now
to not spend. That's it.
To go spend it. They spend it the way you want them to spend it. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, I mean, hey, this is good, y'all. This is good. So please, guys, I know we went on a tangent, just how usually it happens, and then we actually have the podcast. We decided to just do it live today.
Right. We're trying all these new things because now we added this video component. A lot of times you guys don't know the stuff behind the scenes, right? Like, we'll have a 30-minute conversation about the topic because we're going back and forth, and then we're like, all right, let's record now. We've already had the conversation. So we're like, you know what, forget that. Let's not have the 30-minute. Let's just have it out, record it, start it now so we can get it out there. But definitely, this is a good one. And I think this deserves more conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Again, the reason
somebody else is going to come out with something.
Absolutely.
Like, watch, I put, like, mark this down. In the next several months, you're going to start seeing more people, like big people, do it. Like, make these type of power moves. Watch.
Absolutely.
I see it.
Because there does need to be a shift, right? Like at the end of the day, like there needs to be a shift in wealth. There needs to be a shift in where the money is going. And if we are a large consumer base, as you know, Black America, we're a large consumer base, then we have to understand that more money should be going towards where the money's coming from. You know, it makes good business sense. But like we said, I don't know that we can force these companies to do it.
Nah, you can't force them. Yeah. But you can force them by stop buying.
Exactly. If we take the dollars away, dollars away, it'll hurt their bottom line, and that's what'll happen. Like I said, look at the Jay-Z and Cristal, look at Jim Jones and True Religion. There's probably a bunch of other things out there where someone was just like, nah, we're not going to do this anymore. And then Tommy Hilfiger had a moment, right, where Black people were like, yeah, we're not going to buy Tommy.
Well, he said if he an idiot came out and said, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't make clothes for Black people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So when that happens, then you shift and then you move. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's on the consumer. I believe it's on the consumer.
Yeah.
But back to why we started this podcast, guys, it's not a right or wrong. Hopefully T and I can show you that this is not a who's right, who's wrong. This is about, can you understand someone's perspective? I can understand the perspective of Diddy and Byron Allen. I can understand the perspective of GM saying like, we're doing our stuff. Like, can't really tell us what to do. Like, we're doing it. And I understand everyone in between, but we're always curious to hear your perspective.
Oh yeah.
Right? Curious to hear yours. So feel free, hit us up, right? Leave a comment, message us on social, but tell us your perspective on this. Is there an obligation? Is there a real obligation for companies to reinvest or to, I guess, kind of support the
community that spends money with them?
That's it.
Yeah, like, right? Yeah.
Is that important? Is that the obligation of the company? We'd love to hear you guys. So like I said, follow us, drop us a line. We want to hear your perspective. T, thanks for this conversation, man. It was a good one.
Oh yeah, thoughts. You know, we usually come up with pretty decent ones, but like this one was like fresh off the press. So, yeah, but yeah, man, like, so I'll kind of do my last little bit. I'm really curious to hear other thoughts, because I know there's a obviously right now a real black, you know, kind of deal, right? And I'll see examples of like t-shirts, for example, right? Like the shirt I have on now, right? I'll see examples, and then I'll go to my boy and his wife who does shirts, and I'll send him an image, and I'll send it to him the way he needs it, and I'm like, can you make that shirt for me?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, yep. And so that's literally how I do some of my newer clothes now. Like, I will literally say, I have somebody who does this. I normally do my own taxes, right? I said it was a little complicated this year, you know, with the different businesses, the different things I got going on, and all the crypto trades and all my trading. I called up our teammate, CP. Hey, CP, he way in another state, right? Like, I say, hey, CP, hey, you help me set up my LLC and everything else. Hey, I need help this year on the taxes. I don't want no discount. Straight up, I don't want no discount. Yeah. And, you know, he's like, cool, TA number. He's like, nah, you know, I was like, nah, I don't want no discount. Charge me what you would charge me. I know my stuff complicated. And he charged me.
He's like, no problem, bro. I got you.
Like, no problem. I got you. But literally, I'm more aware now, right? Like, and the more I see, right, I want to continue to contribute back in. And now that's not to say like I'm anti anybody else. Right. That's just like, I see my people trying to grow. I see my people trying to do something different, right? And so I want to be a part of supporting that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Where I can. I don't buy a lot of clothes, but when I do, if I can go to somebody who can do it for me, I don't care if it has a Nike check or whatnot, and it don't matter. It still wash the same at the end of the day anyway. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, you know, and I can't wait for some Black people start making some cars and some other things, you know what I'm saying? Real talk, right? Because these are the power plays that can totally change the game. So it's soul playing. We need a real soul play.
We do. Here's the question though, as we get out of here. Are you gonna buy Master P's line of pancake mix and rice and things from the grocery store? Have you seen the line?
All right. So full transparency.
Yeah.
I'm funny about food.
See?
So but again, this is just, I'm like, so I talked about how I would do clothes and different things of that nature. That's easy.
Right.
Like, I'm being honest. Like, so, cause this is a real conversation. Like this is like the after extra here. You guys get like, this is the stuff we talk about when we hang up and, when we stop it, then we just keep talking. Right. Yeah. So, but like, I'm funny about food. Like, I will say, I've never bought little, like, the baby potato chips, or like, or something.
You never bought rap snack?
I never bought a rap snack. No,
come on, man.
I never bought a rap snack.
You gotta support the black man, brother.
I don't look, bro. Like, you know what chips I eat? I eat 2 chips: Ruffles sour cream, cheddar. Sour cream, and hot Cheetos. Like, I'm a kid. Like, those are only chips I eat. Ask my wife. Those are only chips I eat if I'm not eating chips with salsa. Like, now if they come out with some hot Cheetos, maybe they got hot Cheeto version of it or something like that.
When's the last time you got ramen? When's the last time you got like a cup of noodles?
Well, I don't eat ramen. My kids do though. My kids do.
So that's an opportunity because Master P has his own ramen. He got ramen? Yeah, he's got his own cup of noodles.
I may have to check him out because my kids eat ramen like they do. They love them. My wife, they jazz it up and they do all this fancy stuff with it. Yeah.
Find the Master P ramen. He's competing with Uncle Ben's. He put out his own rice. So if you buy Uncle Ben's rice, you get the Master P rice.
I don't know what we just buy regular rice.
Those are figures. The Aunt Jemima, he's going up against them. Right, because these are all white-owned companies that he's like, it's just pancake mix, right? It comes from the same factory. Let's just slap our face on it and sell it. And so same thing, right? He has pancake mix. He's got all types of those things.
So I'm gonna have to check it. I'm gonna have to check it out because when I go to the store, I'm not really seeing it. And like I said, the 7-Eleven, I seen the wrap snacks or snack wraps. I seen those. But I'm funny with chips. But I will say, like, when you start thinking about food, you know what the first thing you think? Well, I think is this going to be up to the same, I'm about to consume this.
I know.
It's one thing to wear it. I'm not saying that it's not, but the thought does happen like, hey, I just want to make sure we're good on this. And that's what we're talking about right there. So if I'm Black and I support Black and I think it, you already know.
Exactly.
You already know. And so, but I will go check out Master P's ramen. Shout out to Master P, the ultimate businessman. And supposedly he's coming out with his own clubhouse and all these other things too.
He's trying to buy an HBCU.
Yes, he is. Right?
Real business, man. Real business. And that's what we're talking about.
We need more though. So it don't always have to come through Master P.
Right.
You know what I mean? We need more. Cause I was like No Limit Soldier with you back in the day. Now I trust you with pancake mix, right? Like, you know what I mean? So.
Exactly. But hey, but he's starting the wave, right? Like it's gonna start to get to that place where, why not? Why not? And I don't know that that's everyone's space in that consumer packaged side. But why not, right? Why not create your own chips? Why not create your own stuff? Like
we always want to just do t-shirts and stuff, and nothing wrong with that. But like you said, there's other spaces.
Super basic. Hence why we had this whole crypto series that you guys heard, right? Which has been awesome. And there's so much more in that technology space that we can be leaders in. They're not, other people aren't the gatekeepers of this technology stuff. Like we can get in on that. And that's why we have to just constantly be thinking about innovating and what's new. And, it's a whole nother podcast.
That's another topic.
Podcast. Either way, guys, we appreciate you guys for listening in on this episode. Again, we want to hear your perspective, so feel free to hit us up. But until next week, we're going to sign off. Perspective Podcast. T, enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Hey, you too, man. All right. Tell the family I said hello.
Will do. Likewise. For everyone else, God bless. Enjoy your week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Perspective Podcast. We hope this conversation made you think a bit deeper, gain some insight, or even possibly gain a brand new perspective. If you did enjoy it, do us a favor. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, Anchor, or anywhere else you stream. Leave a review to help more people experience these conversations and potentially change their perspective as well. And lastly, as always, T and I want you to connect with us. So follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can find us just by using our names. And there we get a chance to hear your perspective.
Until next time, God bless.